The city was alive with movement as the afternoon sun hung low in the sky. Cars rolled through the wide road, vendors shouted the prices of their goods, and people hurried to finish their work before evening. Among all the noise and color, a young boy named Tom stood near the corner of a busy street. He held an old sax in his hands. The sax was scratched and faded, and the metal had lost its shine long ago, but Tom held it with great care. It was the only gift he had left from his father, and it meant everything to him. Tom was small for his age. His clothes were worn, but they were always clean. His hair was slightly messy, and his eyes carried a soft, calm look. He came to this same street every day after school to play his sax. He played simple tunes at first, hoping to earn a few coins to help his mother. His mother worked long hours cleaning houses for people who lived in large apartments. Tom knew she worked very hard. He wanted to help her in any way he could. People passed by him with shopping bags and busy minds. Some stopped for a moment to listen. Some dropped a few coins in the small metal cup he placed beside him. Some ignored him completely. Tom never felt angry about it. He believed every person had their own worries. He simply hoped his music could bring a little peace to whoever listened. On this day, Tom was practicing a soft tune, letting the warm notes flow gently through the air. His fingers moved with ease. Even though the sax was old, the sound it made was sweet when Tom played it. He had practiced for years, learning every breath and every movement from the memories of his father's lessons. His father used to sit with him on their small rooftop and show him how to hold the sax, how to feel the music, and how to let the notes carry emotion. While Tom played, a large shiny black car turned the corner and slowly came to a stop near the sidewalk. The car's windows were tinted, and the outside looked polished like a mirror. People nearby turned their heads because they knew such a car could only belong to someone very rich. A moment later, the car door opened and a tall man stepped out. His name was Mr. Ray. He was well known in the area. He owned several stores, buildings, and businesses. He had a strong presence wherever he went. His shoes were polished, his suit was perfect, and his watch sparkled each time the sun hit it. He always walked as if the ground itself should make space for him. Some people admired him because he was rich. Others avoided him because of his proud attitude. Mr. Ray looked around the street with a sharp gaze, as if he was trying to make sure everyone noticed him. Then his eyes fell on Tom. He saw the young boy standing with an old sax, playing music as cars sped by and strangers walked around. A small crowd had formed near Tom because his music was peaceful and warm. Mr. Ray smiled, but it was not a kind smile. It was a smile of someone who thought he was above everyone else. He walked closer, letting his expensive shoes tap loudly on the pavement. The crowd noticed him, and many stepped aside. Mr. Ray always drew attention because people wanted to avoid angering someone who held power in the area. Tom kept playing, unaware of the attention behind him. When he finished his tune, he lowered the sax and took a small breath. A few people clapped softly. Tom gave a polite nod. Then he turned and saw Mr. Ray standing only a few steps away. Tom felt a little surprised. He had seen Mr. Ray in newspapers and on local news channels but had never seen him this close. Tom stood straight and waited politely, unsure what the rich man wanted. Mr. Ray raised an eyebrow and studied the boy from head to toe. Then he said in a loud voice, "So you play the sax? Interesting. I did not expect a boy like you to try music here." Some people in the crowd shifted uncomfortably. Tom did not understand why Mr. Ray spoke in that tone. Tom replied in a quiet voice, "Yes, sir. I practice every day." Mr. Ray chuckled and shook his head. "If you say so, let us see what you can really do." Then he pointed at the old sax and added, "Play something good for me. If you play well, maybe I will adopt you." That would be something funny to talk about. Some people in the crowd laughed lightly because they did not know how else to react. Others frowned because the comment felt strange and rude. Tom felt a sharp sting in his chest. He did not like being mocked. The words were not meant to hurt him deeply, but they still carried disrespect. Still, Tom remained calm. He did not want to argue with anyone, especially someone powerful. Instead of answering back, Tom looked at his sax. He slowly lifted it to his lips. His face showed no anger. It showed focus. He believed music was a better answer than words in moments like this. The street slowly grew quiet. People watched closely. Cars continued to move, but their sounds faded behind the tension in the air. Even Mr. Ray stood still, waiting to see what would happen. Tom closed his eyes for a brief moment. He thought about his father, his mother, and all the evenings he had spent practicing under the warm sky. He felt the weight of every moment that had brought him here. Then he took a deep breath and let the music begin. A soft, clear note rose through the air. It surprised the crowd because no one expected such beauty from an old instrument. The sound was calm yet strong. Tom's fingers glided over the keys with steady rhythm. The melody flowed like a gentle river, moving through the street with a warm glow. People leaned forward. A child tugged on his mother's hand and whispered with awe. A man who had been rushing to catch a bus stopped walking and turned around. Everyone felt the shift in the atmosphere. It was as if the noise of the city had paused for the music. Tom continued playing. The tune rose higher, filling the space with emotion. It carried parts of joy, sadness, hope, and memory. Some people could almost feel the story behind the notes. They could sense the love of a father teaching his son. They could sense the quiet strength of a boy who practiced not for show, but because he loved the sound of the sax. Mr. Ray's expression changed. His confident smile faded. His eyebrows lifted slightly, and his eyes narrowed in confusion. He had expected a simple street performance, something easy to laugh at or something to show off in front of others. He did not expect depth, skill, and pure talent. He had never imagined that a young boy standing on a dusty street corner could produce music that sounded like it belonged on a stage. Tom shifted to a faster melody. His fingers moved quickly but smoothly. The notes danced in the air like sparks of bright light. The crowd murmured with amazement. Some clapped quietly while the tune continued because they could not hold back their excitement. At every second of the performance pulled more people in. Some stood on tiptoe to see better. Others lifted their phones to record. A woman near the front felt tears forming in her eyes, because the music touched her heart in a way she could not explain. Mr. Ray remained frozen. His face showed something he rarely displayed. It was surprise, mixed with admiration. He had attended expensive concerts and private events with famous musicians, yet none had shocked him like this. Tom ended the piece with a soft, low note. The sound lingered in the air for a moment. Then silence fell. It was a peaceful silence, the kind that held emotion. A second later, the entire crowd burst into applause. Tom stepped back and gave a small bow. He still looked calm and humble. But Mr. Ray did not clap. He only stared at the boy, unable to speak for several moments, and this was only the beginning. The applause continued to echo on the busy street as Tom lowered his sax. The warm sunlight fell on his face, highlighting the faint smile that showed both pride and humility. The crowd lingered, some moving closer to toss coins into the small cup at his feet. Others whispered among themselves, amazed at the talent of a boy so young. Some people even looked around, trying to spot someone who could have taught him such skill. But all they saw was a small boy standing alone with his sax. Mr. Ray's expression remained frozen. His confident face, which usually carried the air of someone in control, was now filled with surprise and confusion. He had never experienced anything like this before. He had seen musicians perform at grand halls, at private events with famous artists, but none of them had caught him off guard in this way. A boy on a city street with a worn-out saxophone had just stopped him in his tracks. He could feel something shifting inside himself, something he had not felt in years. A quiet respect, mixed with disbelief, settled over him. Finally, Mr. Ray cleared his throat. His voice, which had moments ago been loud and teasing, now sounded hesitant. Where did you learn to play like that?" he asked, his words slow and deliberate. Tom wiped his hands on his pants and looked up at Mr. Ray calmly. "My father taught me before he passed away," he said. "I practice every day. Music reminds me of him." The crowd grew quieter as Tom spoke. Some faces softened, some eyes shimmered. Even those who had been laughing at Mr. Ray's joke earlier now looked at the boy with respect. They could feel the honesty in his words, and it made the street feel lighter, as if the music had opened a door to something deep and true. Mr. Ray shifted uncomfortably. He was not used to feeling small or unsure, and yet the boy's talent and humility had made him exactly that. He looked around at the people who had gathered. They were whispering quietly among themselves. Some were praising the boy, others were shaking their heads in wonder. Mr. Ray realized that he had unintentionally made himself a fool in front of them. For the first time, his wealth and influence could not protect him from the truth. Tom was extraordinary. "I see," Mr. Ray said slowly, trying to regain some composure. "And you play here every day?" "For 2 years," Tom replied simply. "I want to help my mother at home. She works very hard, and I try to support her as much as I can. Music is how I do it." A hush spread over the crowd. There was something in Tom's calm honesty that carried more weight than money, more than influence, more than anything else Mr. Ray had ever known. People who had hurried past him every day now paused to listen. The children nearby watched in awe, thinking of how much talent the boy had at such a young age. A woman in the crowd whispered to her friend, "He is going to be amazing. You can feel it." Mr. Ray nodded slowly. He had always believed that money could buy everything. Talent, influence, attention. He had convinced himself that he could command all of it. But in this moment, he realized that real talent, real heart, was something money could never create. And he had been wrong to mock this boy. A few moments of silence passed. Then Mr. Ray's face changed. Instead of a smirk or a frown, he displayed a cautious interest. "Tom," he said, "would you like to play at a private event next week? I will pay you well. My guests will be impressed by someone with your skill." The crowd murmured again, this time with surprise. The offer from Mr. Ray meant more than just money. It meant a chance to perform in front of an audience that could recognize and help cultivate real talent. Tom's heart skipped a beat. He had never performed outside the street before. Big halls and events were a world he had only dreamed of. Yet he remained calm and polite. "I would be happy to," Sir Tom said. His voice carried confidence but no arrogance. The words were simple, but they held meaning beyond what Mr. Ray could fully understand. He was a boy with discipline, respect, and humility, and these qualities made his talent even greater. The crowd responded quietly with nods and smiles. They could see that Tom had been offered something important, and they hoped he would take it. Many people in the crowd were already imagining a bright future for him. His music had touched them, and now his life seemed poised to change for the better. Mr. Ray straightened up. He was still unsure of himself, but the look in his eyes had changed from mockery to seriousness. "Good. Make sure you bring that sax. It seems to have magic in it," he said. His words sounded lighter than before, but there was still a strange hesitation behind them. Perhaps he could not yet accept fully how exceptional the boy was. Tom nodded again. "I will, sir." As the crowd slowly dispersed, some people tossed coins into his cup. Some shook his hand. A few even spoke softly to him, offering encouragement and praise. Tom accepted everything with the same gentle smile he had shown from the beginning. He never allowed attention to make him proud. He believed music was enough, and he had no desire for fame or fortune. All he wanted was to play from the heart and help his mother. After the crowd left, Tom packed up his sax carefully. He made sure each part was protected and wiped the dust off as he had done every day. Then he turned toward the small apartment where he lived with his mother. The streets were quieter now, and the city seemed to breathe a soft sigh at the end of the busy day. Tom walked calmly, each step measured and respectful of the people still passing by. At home, his mother was waiting with a gentle smile. "How was today?" she asked, placing a small cup of tea on the table. Tom set down his sax and looked at her. "It was good," he said. "He asked me to play for a private event next week." His mother's eyes widened. She had heard stories of people mocking children on the street, of rich men looking down on them, but she also knew Tom's talent was rare. "A private event? That could be a wonderful opportunity," she said softly. She reached out and held his hand for a moment. "I am proud of you, Tom. Always remember to be true to yourself, no matter what happens." Tom nodded. "I will, Mom. I promise." That night, as he lay in bed, Tom thought about the upcoming event. He felt a mixture of nervousness and excitement. He thought about his father and the hours of practice they had shared. He thought about his mother and the sacrifices she had made for him. And he thought about the music itself, the way it had the power to touch hearts, change minds, and open doors. He realized that his life might be about to change. The streets had been his stage for years, and soon he would play in front of a new audience. It was a chance to show the world what he could do, but he also understood that the music had to stay true to who he was. Talent was only as meaningful as the heart behind it. The next few days passed quickly. Tom practiced diligently, carefully choosing melodies and refining his technique. He remembered every lesson his father had taught him. He made sure every note carried emotion and every rhythm flowed naturally. He wanted to be ready, not just to impress, but to honor the music and the people who would listen. When the day of the event finally arrived, Tom carried his sax with the same care he always had. His clothes were clean and neat. His hands were steady. His heart beat with quiet anticipation, not fear. He walked through the busy streets toward the location of the event, knowing that this was more than just a performance. This was a step toward the life he had always dreamed of. And far away, Mr. Ray waited, unaware that the boy he had once mocked would soon leave a mark so powerful that it would change how he saw talent, humility, and true worth. The night of the event arrived, and the city streets were alive with lights, cars, and the low hum of voices. Tom carried his old sax carefully, cradling it as if it were the most precious treasure in the world. He had spent hours preparing for this moment. Every note he played in practice had been chosen with care. Every breath had been measured. Every movement of his fingers had been rehearsed. Yet, despite all this preparation, a small part of him still felt nervous. This was his first real performance outside the streets. There were many people here, people with expectations, people who might judge him unfairly. Tom's mother walked beside him, her hand gently on his shoulder. She had come to support him quietly, not to be seen, but simply to give him the comfort of her presence. "You have worked hard, Tom," she said softly, "to play from your heart. That is all anyone can ask for." Tom nodded. He took a deep breath and remembered the lessons from his father. Music is not about showing off. Music is about feeling. Music is about sharing your heart. He repeated these words quietly to himself. The event was held in a large hall filled with wealthy guests. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, reflecting soft light across the polished wooden floor. Tables were arranged neatly, with fine dishes and glasses set carefully on each one. People were dressed in expensive suits and elegant dresses. Servants moved quietly, carrying trays with drinks and appetizers. Everything was perfect and precise, like a world Tom had never been part of before. Mr. Ray waited near the stage. He was dressed in a dark suit, his posture stiff with authority, but even he could not hide his curiosity. He had seen Tom play on the street, and he had expected a performance that might amuse him. What he had not expected was the boy's talent, which had frozen him with surprise. He had invited Tom tonight to see if the boy's music could hold up in a different setting. In a hall filled with people who were critical and demanding, Tom stepped into the hall, his sax in his hands. The polished wooden floor reflected his small figure. His heart beat faster, but he forced himself to stay calm. He knew he could do this. He had practiced every day for years. He had faced the streets, the wind, and the heat. This was simply a new stage. Mr. Ray gave a small nod, signaling that it was time. Tom walked onto the stage, his eyes scanning the crowd briefly. He saw faces of curiosity, some of doubt, and some of expectation. A few people whispered to each other. Noticing the small boy with the old sax, he positioned the sax to his lips and took a deep breath. Then he began to play. The first note filled the hall. It was clear, warm, and confident. The sound seemed to touch every corner of the room. The rich guests paused in their conversations, turning their heads in surprise. This was not the typical performance they had expected. This was something real, something heartfelt, something rare. Tom's fingers moved skillfully across the keys. Each note was deliberate, smooth, and full of emotion. The melody rose and fell like waves on a calm sea. It carried joy, sadness, hope, and remembrance all at once. People listened in silence. Some closed their eyes to absorb the music. Some held their breath, not wanting to miss a single sound. The music grew in strength and complexity. Tom's small hands moved with astonishing speed and precision. The notes danced and swirled in the air. The guests began to lean forward, captivated by the performance. Even Mr. Ray, who had seen countless artists, could not look away. He was frozen, his pride and confidence set aside. This boy had something real that no wealth or position could buy. A woman at the front whispered softly, "He is extraordinary." A man beside her nodded, "I have never heard anything like this in my life." A child sitting with his parents watched wide-eyed, imagining a story behind every note. Tom shifted the melody. The music became brighter, faster, and playful. It moved with a rhythm of joy and curiosity. It was as if he was telling a story without words. Each person listening felt the story differently, but all of them were moved. The hall, once filled with polite chatter, was now completely silent, except for the sound of the sax. Mr. Ray's expression changed with each passing note. His eyes widened, his jaw tightened slightly. He realized that the boy had not only mastered the instrument, but he had also learned the most important lesson in music: to play with feeling, to play with honesty, to play for others rather than for himself. This was the true mark of talent. The crowd could not contain their amazement. Some people began to whisper quietly about the boy's skill. Others tried to imagine where he had learned to play like this. They could sense his dedication, his discipline, and the love he put into every note. No one had ever treated music with such respect and passion in this hall before. Tom's final piece was soft and gentle. The notes lingered in the air like a warm memory. He carefully lowered the sax after the last note, his face calm and humble. He bowed slightly, not for applause, but out of respect for the music itself. For a moment, there was silence. Then the hall erupted in applause. People stood up, clapping, cheering, and some even whistled. The sound was loud, heartfelt, and continuous. Tom's cheeks turned slightly pink. He smiled quietly, feeling the warmth of the moment. He did not shout or call attention to himself. He simply acknowledged the appreciation with grace. Mr. Ray finally stepped forward. His expression was a mixture of astonishment and respect. He had never been so surprised by anyone in his life. He had mocked the boy once, assuming that wealth and power could dominate all. Now, he realized how wrong he had been. Talent and heart were far greater than money, and he could not deny it. "Tom," Mr. Ray said slowly, his voice calm but firm, "you are beyond anything I expected. Your music, it is extraordinary." He paused, searching for the right words. "I want to help you. I want people to see what you can do, to learn from you, to grow your talent." Tom looked at Mr. Ray, still humble. "Thank you, sir. I only want to play and share the music. That is enough for me." A few guests stepped forward to congratulate him. Some offered lessons at prestigious music schools. Others invited him to perform at concerts and events. The boy's future was suddenly full of possibilities. He had gone from a small street performer to a young musician with opportunities that could change his life forever. Mr. Ray watched quietly as the boy received attention and respect. He felt a strange mix of pride and humility. He realized that he had learned an important lesson that night. True talent could not be bought. True skill came from dedication, heart, and love for what one did. The boy had taught him that lesson without saying a word. After the applause finally ended, Tom carefully packed his sax. He smiled at the crowd and then looked toward Mr. Ray. "Thank you for giving me this chance," he said. "You deserve it," Mr. Ray replied. His voice was sincere, without mockery. "I am proud to see someone with such skill and humility. You have shown everyone here what real talent looks like." Tom nodded, feeling a mix of happiness and relief. He had played his best. He had stayed true to himself. He had shared his music with people who appreciated it. And most importantly, he had done it with respect for his craft, his father, and himself. The night ended with many new opportunities for Tom. Invitations, offers, and compliments poured in. He accepted each one with care, never rushing or acting proud. He knew that talent was only meaningful if it remained humble and true. That night, as Tom returned home with his mother, he felt a quiet joy in his heart. The city streets no longer seemed ordinary. They were a reminder of where he had begun, of the journey he had taken, and of the music that would guide him forward. Mr. Ray, meanwhile, left the hall with a new understanding of life and talent. He had seen humility, dedication, and skill in a boy he once mocked. He realized that respect could not be bought, and that greatness often came from unexpected places. And so, the night ended with two people changed forever. One boy with a sax and a heart full of music, and one man who had learned that true worth is measured not by money, but by the heart and dedication behind every action. After the first event, Tom's life began to change in ways he had never imagined. Invitations arrived for him to perform at small gatherings, local schools, and even private music lessons with experienced teachers. Every day, he practiced diligently. He knew that talent alone was not enough. Discipline, focus, and love for music were what made him grow. His old sax had traveled with him everywhere, carrying the sound of his dedication and memories of his father, Mr. Ray, who had once mocked Tom, now watched from the sidelines with quiet pride. He still could not believe how wrong he had been. The boy he thought he could laugh at had shown him a depth of skill and humility that wealth and power could never teach. Mr. Ray began inviting Tom to more events, offering to introduce him to teachers and other musicians who could help him improve. He did not treat Tom as a street performer anymore. He treated him as a young artist with promise. One morning, Tom received an invitation to perform at a large charity event organized by Mr. Ray. The event was to be held in a grand hall, with many important people attending. Tom felt nervous, but also excited. This was a bigger audience than before. The people here would have high expectations. Still, Tom focused on the music. Knowing that preparation and calmness were the keys to success, Tom spent the entire day practicing. He chose pieces that were both joyful and moving. He made sure each note carried emotion. His fingers moved over the keys carefully, his eyes focused, and his heart steady. By evening, he felt ready. He packed his sax, polished it carefully, and took a deep breath before heading to the hall with his mother. She walked beside him quietly, proud of the boy he was becoming. The grand hall was filled with people dressed in fine clothes. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, and the soft glow of lights reflected on polished tables. Waiters moved gracefully, carrying trays of drinks and food. The audience was composed of wealthy guests, teachers, and musicians. Everyone had expectations, but most did not know what to expect from a young boy with an old saxophone. Tom stepped onto the stage. The wooden floor gleamed under the lights. He could feel the quiet energy of the crowd, their curiosity and attention focused on him. He held the sax close to his lips and took a deep breath. His heart beat steadily. He remembered his father's lessons. Play for the music, not for attention. Feel every note. Respect the sound you create. He began to play. The first note floated across the hall, warm and soft, carrying a calmness that filled the room. People stopped their conversations immediately. Their eyes turned to the stage. The melody rose and fell gracefully, painting pictures in the air. Some guests leaned forward, fascinated. Others closed their eyes, letting the music speak to them. Tom's fingers danced across the keys. The music grew stronger, moving from soft melodies to lively and cheerful rhythms. Each note was precise, each sound full of feeling. He played with a quiet confidence, letting the sax speak the words he could not say. The audience felt every emotion. Some smiled, some wiped tears from their eyes. Some simply sat in awe, realizing they were witnessing something extraordinary. Mr. Ray watched quietly from the side. His arms were crossed, and his face was calm, but his eyes betrayed his amazement. He had seen many musicians perform, yet none had moved him like this boy. The same boy he had once mocked was now showing him the power of talent, humility, and dedication. As the performance continued, Tom moved to a faster melody. The notes were lively, playful, and energetic. The music seemed to dance in the air, wrapping around every listener. Children in the audience clapped softly to the rhythm. Adults whispered in admiration. Everyone could feel the boy's passion and the hours of dedication behind each note. Tom then shifted to a soft, emotional piece. The music slowed, filled with gentle sadness and hope. It was a tribute to his father and the struggles he had overcome. Some guests were visibly moved, feeling the depth of the story behind the melody. The hall was quiet except for the sound of the sax, and every person present felt the sincerity in each note. When Tom finished, he held the final note gently, letting it linger in the air. Then he lowered the sax and bowed slightly. The hall erupted into applause. People stood, clapped, and cheered. Some guests even whistled. The sound was loud, heartfelt, and continuous. Tom's cheeks turned pink, but he smiled quietly. He had shared his heart through music, and the audience understood. After the performance, several guests came forward to talk to him. Some praised his skill. Others invited him for lessons or future events. Tom accepted each offer politely, showing respect and humility. He did not let praise change him. He knew that music was not about fame. It was about honesty, dedication, and feeling. But Mr. Ray approached him slowly. Tom has said, his voice calm and serious, "You have done something remarkable tonight. You have moved people, and you have shown everyone here the power of real talent. I am proud to have met you and to support you." Tom looked at him, his expression gentle. "Thank you, sir. I only want to play and share my music. That is enough for me." Mr. Ray nodded. He realized that the boy's humility was as powerful as his skill. He had learned an important lesson that day. Respect, dedication, and honesty could not be bought. They could only be earned. Tom had earned them through years of practice, patience, and love for music. After the event, Tom returned home with his mother. The streets seemed different to him now. He remembered the days when he played on the corners, when people walked by without noticing him. Now, he had performed in a grand hall, touched hearts, and opened doors for his future. He still remembered those streets though, and he knew they were part of his story. They had taught him discipline, patience, and humility. His mother smiled as they reached their small apartment. "You were wonderful tonight, Tom," she said softly. "I am proud of you, and I am happy to see your music touching so many people." Tom smiled. "I am happy to, Mom, but I will keep practicing. I want to get even better. I want to make people feel something every time I play." Days passed, and Tom continued to practice. He received invitations to more events, lessons with skilled teachers, and opportunities to meet other musicians. Each day was a step forward. Each day he grew in skill and confidence, yet he remained humble. Remembering his father's lessons and the streets where he had begun, Mr. Ray continued to watch him with admiration. He had learned from the boy that wealth and power were not the measure of true value. Talent, humility, and dedication were far more important. He began to support Tom quietly, giving him resources and guidance, but always respecting the boy's independence. Tom's story began to inspire others. Children in his neighborhood started picking up instruments. They watched him practice and perform, realizing that dedication and heart could create real success. Parents encouraged their children to follow their passions. Tom had become more than a musician. He had become a symbol of hope, talent, and respect. One afternoon, Tom sat on the small rooftop of his apartment, practicing a new melody. The sun was warm, and the city below hummed with life. He thought about the events, the people he had met, and the music he had played. He realized how far he had come. From the streets to grand halls, he had stayed true to himself. His music had touched hearts, changed minds, and opened doors. As he finished his piece, he looked at the sky and whispered a quiet thanks to his father. Every note, every rhythm, every melody carried the memory of his father's lessons. Every performance was a tribute to the love, dedication, and guidance he had received. Mr. Ray watched from a distance, seeing the boy play with pure joy and focus. He felt a sense of pride unlike anything he had experienced before. He knew that Tom's journey was just beginning. The boy had talent, heart, and humility. He had already achieved more than most could in a lifetime, and as the city lights began to shine and the evening air settled over the streets, Tom played one last tune. The notes floated upward, soft and warm, carrying hope, dedication, and the promise of a future shaped by passion, skill, and respect. Weeks passed after Tom's performance at the Grand Hall, and his life continued to change in ways he had never imagined. Invitations came from music schools, local events, and even national programs for young musicians. Every opportunity was a step toward realizing his dream, and he took each one seriously. He practiced longer and harder than ever before. Every day, he reminded himself of his father's words. Music is not for show, it is for the heart. One morning, Tom received a letter from a prestigious music academy. The letter offered him a scholarship to study music formally. He read it carefully, his heart racing with excitement. This was the chance he had always dreamed of. The academy had excellent teachers, instruments, and programs that could help him grow. But more than that, it would allow him to meet other musicians and share his talent with a wider world. Tom ran to his mother, holding the letter tightly. "Mom, look, I got a scholarship," he said, his voice filled with joy. His mother's eyes filled with tears. She hugged him tightly. "Oh, Tom, I am so proud of you. All your hard work and dedication have brought you this moment. You deserve it more than anyone I know." Tom smiled. "I will work hard, Mom. I promise. I will not waste this opportunity." The day he left for the music academy was both exciting and emotional. His small neighborhood gathered to see him off. Friends and neighbors waved and cheered quietly. Some had known him since he began playing on the street. They had watched him grow from a boy with a worn-out sax to a young musician ready to shine on bigger stages. Tom waved back, feeling gratitude for everyone who had supported him. Mr. Ray also attended the farewell quietly. He had grown to admire Tom deeply, not just for his talent, but for his humility, discipline, and respect for music. He handed Tom a small gift, a new, high-quality saxophone. "This is for you," he said. "It is a tool to help you reach your full potential. Your old sax will always have memories, but this will help you grow further." Tom took the new sax carefully. He felt its smooth surface and perfect weight. "Thank you, sir. I will take good care of it. I will practice even harder," he said. Mr. Ray nodded. "I know you will. Remember, talent is only meaningful when it is combined with heart and effort. You have both. Do not forget that." At the academy, Tom's days were full of lessons, practice, and performances. He learned new techniques, styles, and rhythms. His teachers were impressed with his dedication and skill. They noticed how he played with feeling and precision, and they encouraged him to explore every aspect of music. Tom also met other young musicians. Some were older, some were more experienced, and some were equally talented. He formed friendships and collaborations. Together, they practiced, shared ideas, and learned from one another. Tom's humility and willingness to listen earned him respect among his peers. They admired not only his talent but also his character. One evening, the academy announced a special concert for all students. Each student would perform on a large stage in front of an audience that included parents, teachers, and music enthusiasts. Tom was nervous but excited. He remembered his father's lessons and the streets where he had begun. He took a deep breath and prepared for the moment. When it was his turn, Tom walked confidently to the stage with his new sax. The lights were bright, the hall was silent, and the audience was attentive. He lifted the sax to his lips and began to play. The first note echoed through the hall, rich and warm. The audience turned their attention immediately. Tom's fingers moved with precision and speed, yet every note carried emotion. He played melodies full of joy, sadness, hope, and courage. His music told a story without words. Every person listening could feel the dedication and heart behind each note. As he continued, the music grew stronger. He shifted to faster, lively rhythms. The audience felt the excitement and energy. Children smiled, adults nodded in appreciation, and teachers whispered to one another in admiration. Tom had transformed from a street performer to a young musician capable of touching hearts in a formal, elegant setting. When the performance ended, the hall erupted into applause. People stood and cheered. Tom bowed respectfully, smiling quietly. The applause was loud, but he focused on the feeling of sharing music rather than the recognition. This was what he had always wanted, to play music that moved people. After the concert, many teachers and guests approached him. They praised his talent and offered opportunities to perform at bigger events. Some suggested advanced lessons to further improve his skill. Tom accepted each opportunity politely, grateful for the guidance and support. Mr. Ray, who had traveled to see the concert, stood quietly in the back. He watched Tom with pride and amazement. He remembered the day he had first mocked the boy on the street. He remembered the music that had frozen him with surprise. And now, he saw the boy performing confidently on a large stage, with skill, heart, and humility. After the audience left, Mr. Ray approached Tom. "You have grown beyond anything I imagined," he said. "Your dedication, talent, and character are inspiring. I am proud to know you." Tom looked at him calmly. "Thank you, sir. I only want to play and make people feel something with my music. That is all that matters." Mr. Ray nodded. "You have already done that. You have reminded me, and everyone who has watched you, that true talent is more than skill. It is about heart, discipline, and respect. You have all of these qualities." The next year brought even more opportunities. Tom performed in concerts, collaborated with other musicians, and continued to study at the academy. Each performance was a chance to grow and share his music. He never forgot the streets where he began, the small crowd that first listened to him, or the lessons from his father. Through it all, Mr. Ray remained a quiet supporter. He provided resources, introductions, and encouragement, but he always respected Tom's independence. He no longer mocked anyone and often spoke to friends and colleagues about the boy who had taught him a lesson about true talent and humility. Tom's story began to inspire others. In his community, children picked up instruments, parents encouraged their children to pursue their dreams, and local musicians shared their knowledge. Tom had become more than a musician. He had become a symbol of hope, dedication, and the power of heart in everything one does. One afternoon, as Tom sat on the academy's rooftop practicing a new piece, he felt a deep sense of satisfaction. The city stretched out below him, filled with streets, buildings, and the hum of life. He remembered the small street corner where he had first played. He remembered the coins tossed into his cup, the kind words of strangers, and the first day Mr. Ray had mocked him. He smiled quietly. Every step of the journey had taught him something important. Every note he had played carried meaning, memory, and emotion, and through it all he had stayed true to himself. Mr. Ray watched from a distance, seeing the boy play with passion and focus. He felt pride and humility. He realized that success is not measured by wealth or power, but by dedication, heart, and the ability to inspire others. Tom had shown him this truth. Years later, Tom became a renowned musician, known not only for his skill but also for his humility and respect for the art of music. He performed in concerts around the world, shared his story, and inspired countless young musicians. Yet he never forgot the streets where he began, the coins tossed in a cup, or the lessons from his father. Mr. Ray often told his friends and colleagues about the boy who had frozen him with music on a street corner, who had grown into a musician capable of touching hearts everywhere. He spoke not of wealth but of talent, heart, and the lessons that true greatness comes from dedication and humility. And so, Tom's journey came full circle. From the street corner to the academy, from an old sax to a new instrument, from a boy mocked to a young man respected. He had proven that talent, dedication, and heart can overcome any obstacle. His music continued to inspire, his story continued to teach, and the world remembered that a boy with love for his art and respect for others could achieve greatness beyond imagination.